Hi everyone.
Hello. We are Ziga and
Everyone.
and this is our traditional 11th
Webinar.
webinar. The tradition is getting a bit different now because it's bi-weekly from now on.
Yeah.
Um,
Used to be every week. We decided that it's kind of hard to come up with all the news, and that maybe we're working a lot on what to say and not so much on actually getting you the stuff you want. So we figured to change that up a bit and do more of the stuff you want and nag you less with the webinars. But they're still here. They're going to be here every second week on Wednesdays at 3 o'clock our local time. Well, we just moved back to Sweden from Denmark. It's less windy and more hot. But,
I kind of like it more.
Oh yeah, it's cool. So for today's webinar, we've got a bit of a plan again, right? And it's gonna go back to the roots of where we started with these webinars. The idea is for you guys to see what Mixonomic looks like right now. So if you haven't had a chance to open it up for some time, then Ziga will show you what it looks like, how it works, how to get some results with it, and maybe you'll pick up a trick or two.
Okay, so
Let's start with
we'll start with that. Okay, and then we'll continue with other
In
topics.
the meantime, as
Once-
Ziga prepares for his
once we're
presentation, if you guys have any questions or suggestions for Mixonomic, write them in the chat, and we will try to answer them. Some of them will answer immediately if it's like super relevant to what you're doing with the demo, and some of them will answer later. So if you don't see an answer right away, it means it will happen after the demo.
Yeah. I just have one suggestion. I see that we're losing connection from time to time, so if you just excuse me for a couple of seconds.
Right. Okay, something's happening. Hey Greg. Greetings from Slovenia. So nice of you to join from the States. It must be a very different time then there. So thanks so much for dropping by.
Okay, so I hope this is gonna solve our streaming problems a little bit.
And the audio level is supposedly quite low, so maybe we should up that up a bit.
Okay.
The boost is up right now.
Can you like that?
Is this any better?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I think we can simply start with the demo, and we'll keep an eye on the comments.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who may have never been to the insides of Mixonomic before, this is the page where you land when you make your account. So from the landing page, click one of the green buttons to log in, or to create a new account with Google or Facebook, or with just plain email address and password if you are very strict with your personal data. And this is where you land. And the most prominent role of this page is to make a reservation of the piece of gear that you want to use on Mixonomic. So the first part is selecting what you want to use. Default is Rack 1, but at the moment we offer also a Telefunken M15 tape machine, a Elysia Music Cube dual mono mastering grade equalizer, a Bettermaker mastering limiter, a mono, so single channel 1176 Revision 8, that's the blue stripe one, and a Fairchild 670 recreation, or clone, or what have you.
Darn good one though, if I do say so myself.
Yeah. Which is at the moment a free product. Maybe we should just say why. And that's because we are making some measurements of the tubes, and it's offline for quite a while from time to time. And we found out that the tubes were in
not a perfect condition.
let's say quite far from
The idea of mix analog is actually that you guys get analog gear, but not just any analog gear, but it's like you have analog gear and a tech at the same time. So we maintain the gear for you guys. So the idea is you always get top-notch results. You can always depend on it. And when we can't guarantee that because life happens, then we put the machine into the free tier. So at least, we still get the sound, we still get most of the performance. But if it's not something that we can 100% get behind, then we'll put it up for free. So that's why you can get this very nice sounding compressor for free right now. And then we'll rotate in something else as we go around to change the tubes and upgrade a few things in the power supply. And so we have quite a few ideas on how to improve it a bit more, so that we'll be super happy. And that's why it's free.
Maybe just to clear things up, the analog part of the threshold is staying perfectly the same.
Yeah.
We are not messing up the power supply of the original circuit. It's still going to stay the overblown, over-engineered tube power supply. But we are changing either the wiring or the complete architecture of the power supply for the automation, so we will get even less noise from that. Okay, so for today's demo, I've reserved a 45-minute slot of rack 1.
As you can see with the green dots over there.
As you can see here, and if I want to extend this slot by 50 more minutes, I simply click on the little square next to my reservation, do another 15 minutes. I do not need an email to remind me, but if you would like, let's say if you are making a reservation for 2 days ahead,
then you might want one.
Yeah, you might want to have an email reminder, and this is where you can set it. So if I were to extend my existing booking, I would simply click book now, like so, and
now we
my
have a full
session,
hour available
until 4 o'clock
That's
local
right.
time. And usually before I would start my session, now it's already running because I'm prepared for the for the presentation. But before my reservation would even start, I would go to the Files tab and upload all my files here. As you can see, those are still the leftovers from the Ziga tutorial. But this is something that I think we usually tell most of the newcoming.
It saves time.
Yeah.
And it can be frustrating if you've booked time and then you spend minutes or even more of that just uploading your source files. You can do that before the time starts ticking on your session. So that's where you do it. You go to the Files tab, upload your files in advance, and then you can start the session later. So that would be the perfect way to do it, so that you can get every minute out of your reservation.
Exactly. And maybe one more detail that a lot of you are asking about on our support is what happens if you booked the wrong time in your session and want to cancel it to get your tokens back. It doesn't need to be done by contacting the support. You can do it yourself at the Sessions tab, and there is a delete button right here. Use that big red button, and the session will cancel. And if you did it,
It's 2 hours. So if you do it 2 hours or more before the session starts, then you'll get all of the tokens back. If not, you'll get 1/2. Also, regardless of when the session starts, if you do it within, I think it's a minute or so, within the time that you clicked create and you said, oh no, wait, that's not what I wanted, and you delete it within like a minute or so, then that counts as, you just misclicked or something. And that's always going to return the tokens, even if the session will already be starting. So, if any of that doesn't work for us, sometimes that messes up, but right now I think it should be cool. Let us know.
I'm just sorry that you cannot see my mouse pointer because I'm showing stuff with the mouse pointer, but I think, is the mouse over working? I don't know, but doesn't matter.
No.
You can see if your tokens were returned here on the top right corner of the app, below your account name, there is a counter or your, let's say, your wallet of Mixaml tokens, and this number will change immediately when you get the tokens back if you delete your session. I'm not going to delete it now because we're going to need it. So I'm back to home, and when all of that is settled and I'm ready to process my files, I'll just start live and end up in the live session.
So maybe go over the parts. Let's just go top to bottom, I think.
Sure.
Easiest to do.
So on the top left, the first three buttons are called slots, and those are kind of like tracks, but they do not play simultaneously. But let's say they're
like presets in a way.
Yeah.
It's like a combination of a file, of a source file, and all of the settings of all of the gear. So why would you want that? You would want that if you're working on one file and mastering one file, and you want another one for a reference, or maybe you're doing two of them from the same album, and a third one is your reference or something like that. So you could have track 1 that you're working on with its settings, track 2 with another source file and other settings, and track 3 which would have all the processing disabled, and it would be a reference track. So when you click 1, 2, or 3, the source file will change and the settings will immediately go to the analog units. So you can very quickly switch between the first track, the second track, and the reference, for example. It's limited right now to just 3 of those because of screen real estate, but we think it's a cool concept, and if you guys want to pitch in on that and how to maybe expand on that and how you guys are using it, if it's good for you, then let us know, and we'll see if we can build on that and give you some even more cool features. We think it's already quite nice, but let us know.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I have no idea how much this feature is used.
But I hope.
Yeah.
It's cool for me.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so next to those slots, as you can see, I've just assigned different files to each one, so you can see how that works. Beside those are save and recall buttons. Those are classical presets that store all the settings and recall them. And this happens instantly. Like I'd say it takes less than a quarter of a second or something like that.
It's very fast. But the idea here is you can save them regardless of the 1, 2, 3 numbers.
Yeah.
So here, just the state of the buttons you see on the screen, like of the gear that you're using, you save that under a specific name, like I don't know, mastering this and this band, this and this track, and so you just put in a name, and then when you recall, you also just select from a list of names, and that will load into the slot that you have selected.
Well, we found a bug.
Oh no! Oh, it's not the first one though.
You said wrong.
But the escape works. Interesting. Okay,
We'll fix it.
we'll fix it.
Okay, so continuing from here, this drop down here is your files menu. Those are your source files that are the same ones as in your files tab on the main page that we've been before. Next to it is another upload file button.
So if you forgot a file, you can still do it from here. It will take time away from your session, unfortunately, but it's kind of like if you got into a studio and you forgot into a mastering studio, you brought something on a USB stick. I mean, we're still waiting for that to copy, unfortunately. And if you sent it in advance, then that's great. But it's good to know that you can still do it right.
Yeah. And next to it is a small but very important button. It's the cogwheel, and it's the settings. And I guess the most important setting among those is the streaming buffer. Because you guys are coming to Mixaml from all over the world, and
all the continents.
Unfortunately, the internet service providers, ISPs, are not very keen on letting us pass through all of the networks throughout the world with the same speed. So
it's even in today when you have Netflix and iTunes and all this different streaming stuff and Spotify and so on, the lossless audio is just so huge. It's a huge bandwidth thing, and so going across continents with such a huge bandwidth is a problem for ISPs. I mean, usually when you buy 100 megabits from your ISP, what they're usually guaranteeing is just within a state or maybe a country. But everything out of that is, all bets are off. So you could get just a megabit maybe, or 2 or 5. And so to battle that, you can increase the buffer so it smooths out a bit. You'll get more latency, but you should get a better playback experience. So if you experience stutters that appear to be network stuff related, so congestion and so on, then increase this number. I recommend starting with the maximum if you're having problems, and then if that works, then it's a network problem, and you can work your way down on the list to the lowest number that still works for you. So that would be my suggestion.
And for me, because I'm sitting literally 20 meters away from the rack, it's not in this room, but a couple of doors down, but still, I'm going to select the shortest setting because
hopefully it will work.
Yeah, hopefully it will work. And
we'll see.
It's the most responsive and most snappy experience.
Yeah.
If you're really having great trouble with stable streaming, you can try one of the lossy formats. I am at the moment not set to 48K, so I cannot use Opus. But for those of you that are able to
work in 48K.
Yeah, work in 48K, or just change your local sampling rate on the fly. Of all the lossy codecs, I would suggest using Opus because the quality is still good.
Just to be sure, this 48K is grayed out because Ziga's sound card is not set to 48K. If he would set his sound card 48K and refresh the tab, then he could select that instead of the MP3 option. There's just one more thing, is this is only for monitoring. When you will make a bounce and download the results, those are always lossless WAV files. So there's no audio compression going on for the results that you get, just for the monitoring. And speaking of monitoring, the Opus codec is very transparent. It's super transparent, actually. I think the last and greatest audio codec to be developed, and really sounds great for a lossy code. Still, lossless is perfect. That's a bit perfect to what you would get if you were in front of the gear with your own converters. But this also works quite well if your internet bandwidth can take that.
Yeah. Okay, and so the last feature in the
very important if you have a large screen or a small screen
is the UI scale selection.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with 120%, and as you can see, it's already in effect. And this scales my interfaces for the factor. So you know what? Let's go to 140 because we're sitting quite far away from the laptop.
Yeah.
And
so if you have a TV or something, or if it's a screen that you have far away, then you should use this feature, I guess, and you get more readability out of it.
Yeah, and it's easier to grab the right knob and to fine tune.
Yeah, you don't lose time filling one pixel left.
Okay, and I think now that we're out of this settings menu, what we're left with the metering.
Yeah.
The meters are, the center ones are sample peak, and the other ones are RMS, and those are calibrated to VU ballistics, so 300 milliseconds averaging time.
Basically they're views.
Basically they're views, but one, let's say, feature until the time that we implement loops metering, because a lot of you are asking about loops metering. The momentary loudness units are 400 millisecond averaging time RMS meters, and the VUs are 300 millisecond averaging time, so they are very, very similar in fact. So if you're used to working with loops, the RMS readout here will give you a very
A good idea.
Yeah, a good idea of where you are with your momentary loops. And continuing on, this here is the signal chain. So if you are wondering on how your signal goes from one box to another, this graph here shows you how it goes. And sometime in the mid future, you will be able to rearrange that. But,
I'll talk about that later.
yeah.
After the demo, we'll talk a bit about the future of Mix Analog, like what do we have in store, what we have done right now, this week and the past week, and what we plan to do in the next 2 to 3 weeks and so on. And that will include some information about that particular thing over there.
Okay, so now I think that we really only left with the demo.
Let's do
So
that.
let's find. I'll just take the instrumental. Did that refresh?
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Seems like we've broken something.
Maybe. I mean, we've had some last minute adjustments to the audio engine.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, let's see. Demos are never smooth, it seems. So that it's a curse of demos, especially online. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So yeah, I hope the music is not so loud that you could not hear me. I'll set it to something like that, and I hope you can hear me clearly over what's going on. So from here on, when your playback's working and you know what you're trying to achieve, it's a pretty straightforward process. It's just like using plugins. So adjust your settings. Oh, come on.
Not the best day for demos.
So yeah, just for info, I'm just blindly adjusting that stuff on
We don't hear audio that much, so we're just grabbing some knobs and moving stuff around for some monitor or headphones. You should dial that in. I think it'll be better than she is doing right now. Alright, so the units are in order. The pair of filters, the CA compressor, this is a SSL 4000 comp for GML/Soundcheck and Master Amplifier and a MOSFET limiter, breakable limiter. So those are the units that are used. So just grab knobs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get it it's a pretty low stance. I had to crank it a lot to get some good impression, but as you can see, it's going to show the meters.
Yeah, so we're happy with this. We've done some adjustments, and now we want to download that.
Yeah,
We want to get some results.
and you get them by clicking the bounce button on the lower right side of the screen. This dialog will come up. You can choose a name for your bounce, either add it to the queue which we can talk about later, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you can just click bounce now, like that, and it's gonna show the progress in real time. And this is another, let's say, point to make.
Yeah.
The bounce time is
Going to be equal to the time that the track is, the length of the track.
yeah.
Because this is not plugins. This is not emulations. It's real year, so we can't make it faster or slower than real time. So if it's 5 minutes, then it's going to take 5 minutes to make a bounce, just like real.
Yeah.
Just like in reality.
And take those 5 minutes into account into your session time.
Yeah.
Because if a little pop-up will come up, I think it's 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Before
it would be too late to make a bounce. Otherwise, you're gonna have a cutoff at the end. Because if you have 15 minutes scheduled and you have 5 minutes to bounce, and 2 minutes before the end you decide, oh yeah, well let's bounce. You're only gonna get 2 minutes because someone after you has maybe already made a reservation and he can't wait for you to get out of the studio. So you'll only get 2 minutes out of that. So make bounces before you run out of time. Hopefully, we get complaints every now and then that people don't know about this, so we just really want to make a point of this. Just make a reserve maybe a few, one slot, maybe more, and have enough time left over to make the bounces.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna wait now for the bounce to finish. I'm just simply gonna cancel it.
Yeah.
So if you figure out that you've, I don't know, misadjusted something, or want to have another listen before you do the final bounce, you can simply cancel it, adjust it, do it again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
So I just want to say before we move on, or move out of this interface, because we've mostly covered most of it, it's just the I/O unit seems to confuse a few people.
Mm-hmm.
This I/O unit actually represents the ADDA conversion, and it has knobs to adjust the gain before the DA in case of the top knob. So this knob adjusts the gain of the digital file before it's streamed to the output of the DA converter. So this is digital gain. That's not analog gain, it's digital gain. Now, of course, this means there's no added noise. That's great. But also, if you boost this too much, you'll get into clipping. So the meters next to the knob show you the amount of like the loudness that you're pushing out from the DA. So if this goes into red, then you're clipping, but not analog clipping, you're clipping digital. And then you've got another knob down here. This one is after AD conversion. So not before, but after AD conversion. And it's also digital. So here you are actually modifying the loudness that goes from the analog side after conversion to your monitors. So think of it as a volume controller for your monitors.
And your bounces.
And your bounces. So if you set this to -3 dB, that actually goes into your bounce, and you will have -3 dB on applied digitally after the AD. So if you're clipping the AD stage and you want to back off a bit, then you can do this here. Some people are asking me, how can I make -0.5 dB peaks? This is one of the ways to do it, is to clip the AD. We're using Burl mothership converters, so pretty high quality and also very useful for clipping. And then you can use this knob to adjust down a bit and get lower digital levels than clipping maximum.
So after that, if you have a dB or two headroom left, you can use a software 2-peak limiter or oversampling limiter, and really dial in the loudness for the last 1 or 2 dB with true peak limiting.
Exactly.
digitally.
And the meters next to this, and this is important, are not actually meters that are modified by the knob next to it. So this is different from the knob and meter up, that these do interact, but the ones below, they don't. So the meters below, in the lower half of the IO unit, they show the AD metering. So before monitor volume adjust. So here you can see if you're clipping the AD section, and if you're going to turn down the monitoring volume on the knob next to it, it's not actually going to impact the volume coming into the AD. It's only going to impact the volume of your monitoring after the AD of the burrows has already been done. You can see the monitoring volume on the meters in the upper left, which have the RMS and the peak thing going on. So this is how the monitoring works. It can be a bit confusing, I think, but right now this is how it works. If you have suggestions how to make it better or less confusing, let us know. And there's also the power button over there that actually does something when it's not there just for fun. This one actually bypasses all of the analog processing. So it's a true bypass sort of thing. So you can hear what you're doing with all of the devices that are in the analog chain.
So powering this IO unit off will give you your exact source file with no ADDA loops, nothing.
Yeah. So this is also useful if you have multiple slots populated and you have a reference file loaded up in, for example, slot number 3. You can just click this, and regardless of the other settings on the analog units, you are going to get the pure sound, the exact sound that you are getting from the source file. I think though that I'm not super sure, but I think it works this way. The volume adjusts on the monitoring side are still working. So if you have like a very loud source file and you want to, a reference file, and you want to dial that down just to get the idea of what it sounds like to compare with your file before you make it super loud, then you can do that with the slots and the IO unit setup like this.
And with that, I think we are concluding our demo.
I'd still like you to just have this open because I think we'll be going back a bit when we talk about the features that are in store. But right now, that's all we have for demos. If you do what Ziga did right now, then you will have, uploaded a file, made a reservation, adjusted your settings to your liking, and gotten a file out of this. So,
maybe one more thing.
Yeah.
So, where do my bounces go?
That's a fair question. Yeah.
Either when your bounce completes, a pop-up will come up and it will contain a download link, so you can download your file instantly after the bounce finishes. But if you want to continue working, simply close the dialog, because all of your bounces end up in your Files tab at your home screen, or home page of the app. So yeah, all the bounces end up here, and you can download them with the download buttons right here. And I'll just go back to the app.
Yeah.
And see you back at the app when we have
anything more to talk about. With that. So we've been working on something that will probably be very transformative to how you approach analog in analog compression, in particular in mix analog.
Also, it's news time.
It's news time. It's news time, and we want to show you something new that's almost ready for use. We've had quite a bit of fun with this one. So this is a new unit, but it's not a compressor, it's not EQ, it's not a limiter, it's not reverb. What is it? It's got a lot of D-sub connectors over here. What this is a mid-side matrix and a dry-wet sort of parallel compression mixer, right? And it supports how many channels?
At the moment, there are 4 stereo cards modules installed in that one.
And we have room for?
For 2 more.
Right. So it will be 6 stereo, so parallel compression and mid-side boards that we will have and that we can do in the near future. Right now we have 4 completed. It's an awesome design. I think maybe you guys can talk about it. You and maybe no. Let's see. we have Elvis here as well, but I think he's a bit camera shy. Yes. We'll leave him alone.
Okay. So because we are analog freaks, and because we want to do let's say unit specific MS encoding, decoding, and dry wet blending, just as you're used to with the plugins that you use in the DAW, we dropped the notion of making the MS encoding and decoding in software, because that would mean that each unit would have to have its own ADDA path, and using 4 units, just like we did in the demo, would just add a lot of ADDA passes to your audio, and I guess that even the best converters add a little bit in 4 or even more passes over the...
I think it's also, it's a question of philosophy,
Yeah.
right? So we don't want to do more ADDA passes than we absolutely need to get you the results that you want. So, but it's not only ADDA passes, it's also the number of op amps, it's also the number of other active circuits involved into making the signal. So if we can, we always use true bypass and with relays and so on. The idea is, mix analog as it is right now, and as it will probably be for the rest of the year, is mainly for doing online mastering and fattening up tracks, but mostly I believe it's used for mastering tracks or getting buses to have some color so that you can, put them in a mix and get some vibes going on, right?
Yeah.
And in both situations, there's a bit of purism involved, right? And how you approach the signal chain, how you want this process to be. So when we design stuff, we have this in mind. We want to do the least number of active components, the least number of ADDA passes, and because of that, we decided to go a bit overboard on how to approach MS, and of course, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing, I think. It gives you kind of like a really nice mastering grade experience, and you don't have to make a mastering studio and invest in all of that. You can let us do it.
Okay, and to continue with the candy about that MS and parallel processing circuits, grab the box again. As you can see, we took a little bit of care about component selection, and those red boxes that you see on the circuit boards are
German-made, not capacitors.
Are let's say not audiophile grade, because those are huge and hugely expensive.
It depends on your budget, but I think if you're like even in the mid-budget, they still kind of qualify.
Yeah,
as audiophile grade.
Yeah. But we, let's say, decided to make the circuits in such a way that we don't need huge electrolytic or bipolar caps inside, because those induce a small amount of distortion. So now we have the caps that are not electrolytics, so there is absolutely no level dependent distortion from the capacitors used. And above or alongside that, all the op amps used in those boards are absolutely the best IC op amps that you can get on the market for audio at the moment. So those are not a couple of cents worth of just regular off-the-shelf components, but we really invest a lot of research and care into our component selection. So if we are doing the added circuitry around the analog boxes that we utilize, we make sure it's absolutely top-notch as far as we know.
Yeah. So the idea is it's a upgrade for the rest of our gear. So the mid-side matrices for the EQs, primarily for pulses, and because the precision EQ, the 5-band mastering EQ, already has a mid-side function.
I'll just switch back to here.
Yeah. So there's a mid-side left-right switch over here, and if you switch to mid-side, then you get a mid in the side channel. Like this. So then you can set the settings for those independently. If you switch to LR, to left-right mode, then you have
it's stereo.
Yeah, it's stereo. Whatever you set effects both channels equally. So that one already has it. The Pultex unfortunately don't. So with these added mods that we do, you can switch the Pultex into mid-side mode, and then you would have two of those, one for the mid, one for the side channel. That would enable you to boost a lot of highs on the side channel to get the reverb tails going, stereo information, and so on. You could maybe add a lot of low end just to the mid channel, stuff like that. I think that's
classic
classic MS trick. How to get a good banging track out of and with Pultex no less.
Yeah, sure. And maybe for those of you with a really sharp eye, you may have noticed those how are those called? I don't even know.
I'll call them title bars.
Title bars, sure. Above the gear, and those are going to get little knobs and switches to the right of them, and this is where the MS and wet dry controls are going to end up.
Exactly.
At the moment, we are planning on doing the wet and dry knobs separately, so it's not only going to be a mix knob, but it's going really.
So you can dial in both the dry and the wet level of the signal independently. So you can get some nice tricks going on where you can dial in not just a percentage or a ratio, but you can also boost, for example. The dry and the wet level together would be more than just the overall level. Yeah, so you can go, I don't know, you can go 60% and 60%, which would be over 100%. But you can do that if you want. So that's those are going to live in the title bars. And that's what I wanted to say is I think some of you guys are already been in some other webinars and heard us talk about this feature now for some time. The news in a nutshell is that the hardware is done today. We've had some unlucky events around the hardware, but it's done now and it works. So now the next step is to integrate it with the software, which has also been somewhat done but not tested. So in the next few days we're going to test that, and then hopefully this week this goes out. So
finally,
finally, closing a very interesting chapter of development in Mix Analog. But I think it's going to be quite revolutionary for you guys who are looking into really doing mastering great stuff with Mix Analog, getting the compression, but also dialing in back the dynamics with the dry and wet blend function. And the mid-side things, those probably have a million different applications for mastering in particular. Lots of problem solving, I think, could get much easier in that field if you have mid-side and all the dynamics and all of the EQs.
Yeah, at least me, I personally really can't wait to try the crush and blend or the parallel circuits on, let's say, the Fairchild and the VCA, of course, because those are units that are, at least for the VCA, I know that a lot of people use it in parallel. and that this was kind of sadly missing. And another cool thing is that the variable sidechain link that we implemented in the VCA is really going to show its strength now when the MS mode is going to be available in that box. So yeah, I can't wait to try that out.
Yeah, and it's just a few days now, hopefully. Cross our fingers and knock on wood. Hopefully we won't run into any more problems and we're done with those and finally we can do that. There has been a suggestion from Greg about offering an analog summing service in the future. I've grabbed something over here, summing for you as well. So there's already some.
I think
some
our
progress on
stream is dropping for some reason, and I think we're good.
Oh no, it should be back. Is it back?
I think it's back now. The light is green. So I don't know how much of what Bojan said was dropped out.
The internet redacted me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been censored. It seems. But long story short, Summit Mixer
on the way, but as said in a couple of the webinars already, the obstacle that's keeping us back from implementing it right away is unfortunately money. Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah.
Because first of all, the unit itself is not it's not simple. Actually, this particular PCB is not the complete unit because the summing bus amplifiers are going to be separate units, because one of them is going to be a tube-based RCA inspired summing amp.
More than just inspired, but yeah, it's an RCA.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, we're gonna clone the RCA summing mixer console circuit. Then the second one is going to be a Neve clone, and the third one is going to be the John Hardy 990 op-amp based, so very fast, clean, gutsy summing amplifier. So those by itself are not cheap to build, and then we have to expand our ADDA capabilities, and
that's where the problem is.
Yeah, if we want to stay at the same quality level as we are now using the Bell mothership, expanding our system for 24 channels is going to be expensive.
Unfortunately. So even though the design's been done for some time now, and maybe the PCB itself, as Ziga said, it's not so expensive to make, everything around it from the hardware perspective already is quite challenging, but then you've also got the software perspective where right now Mixalog supports a stereo channel that you manipulate, and if we wanted to go from that to something like 24 channels, which I think this beast works with, then that would be quite an undertaking as well. So it's just not going to happen right now on the cash flow that we have, but you know,
yeah,
hopefully we're prepared over here.
Yeah, it's already in the making, but we'll have to wait a little bit for the gold coins to pile up.
Yeah,
and
it's just something that, you know, we have to choose. You know, there's a finite amount of days in a year, and some things are just our work more or less, and some things are our work and a lot of money to move. And we're kind of not doing those projects right now because there's still quite a lot that we can do just ourselves. Quite a bit of gear. Maybe you see a stack of gear behind me. That's all in our possession, and we can put that online one at a time. So the future is definitely bright. But we're getting off track, right?
yeah.
Where were we?
Where were we? Yeah.
I think we covered the dry wet unit. I think most of you guys get it, what it's for. The idea is to blend the dry and the wet signal, so an uncompressed and so something with dynamics and something with crush dynamics, and you can blend that and a mid-side matrix. So you can split the signal left, right into mid and side, process that independently, and then reassemble back into left and right. So that's what we do. That's what we did in hardware. Now it's just a bit of testing because the software is also done, and then we can ship it to you. So it will be included on the Pultex as a mid-side, on the Elysia, I believe, as a mid-side, on the VCA and Fairchild as a mid-side and dry rack.
Exactly.
I think that's the way it will be deployed.
Yeah.
For starters.
Yeah, we think that the limiters usually don't need the parallel blend, and the battery maker master limiter already has the mid-side capability built in.
Yeah.
So it already has some of the flexibility. So yeah, for now that's it for the MS and wet and dry blend circuitry. Yeah. What else?
So moving on, I just wanted to address some of the software stuff that we did. We've done a few bug fixes. Some of them have been around, some bugs that have been around for some time. Finally got around to fixing those. So as of today, the bounce cube shouldn't be giving you trouble anymore. We've done some fixing there. Also, there have been reports of the tape machine bounces, sometimes ending up with a black screen and no recourse. What happened? We took care of that crash as well, hopefully. So those two things, generally the bounce cube and the tape bouncing should now be working better. Hopefully even bug free. We'll see. So try those out. Let us know. Other than that. Anything else that we did on software already? I think nothing that's visible right now, except for the dry rack that you guys are going to get this week, hopefully. In the future though, so the way we have it set up is we want to do bypassing of individual gear and reordering of the gear when you have a chain like in rack 1, where you have, for example, the Pultex first and then the VCA. So we want to do those things next, after the dry wet. That's our idea. If you guys think there's something else that's more pressing, let us know. We'll have a chat on the webpage. So just right there, and I'm the one responding to most of them, so we'll be talking directly to me. And if not that, then just drop us an email. And the next thing that we want to do after that is going to be custom products. That means the rack 1 right now is fixed with having a pair of Pultex followed by a VCA followed by a precision EQ followed by a limiter. What if you wanted to replace the VCA with Fairchild, or maybe you don't need the Pultex, or maybe you don't need the precision EQs, maybe you just want to have the VCA and a better maker for limiter instead. Possibly, or replace the precision EQ with an Elysia. So that's what we call custom products, because you guys will make those yourself, and that's next after the bypass and reorder. Again, this is on our roadmap, and this is the kind of the sequence of events as we see it for Mixanlog as a platform. But if you do have an idea on how you want to do it, if there's something else more pressing, let us know. If you'd like to prioritize something else, let us know.
Yeah, sure. We are open for either suggestions about our roadmap or suggestions about the next webinars. If you wanna have some other aspect of Mixanlog covered, or just want to talk about some specific audio production, techniques, tips, what have you, let us know and we can prepare something, because we think that all of you can get a much better value of Mixanlog if you know how to use it. So if one particular unit is giving you trouble, either you can refer to the tutorials. I think that at least at the moment
Most
I
of the
guess
machines, if not
all of the boxes have their own tutorials already on our YouTube channel. But if we're still missing something, please let us know. Either in the live chat comments right now or leave it in the comments below the video because it's going to stay online.
And we'll address it.
And yeah, we'll address it. And if it's something that we can easily address through a webinar, we'll see you on the next webinar and we'll prepare to give you the answers.
So, with that said, what's the new hardware coming out?
The new hardware coming out, I think the first one is going to be either the saturator,
The tube distortion?
yeah, or a new tape machine.
We have a new tape machine.
A new tape
We
machine
have
sitting
not told
just
you yet.
below the table right there. I'm not going to lift it because I really like my back in one piece. But yeah, we got a studio tape machine that we are going to put online eventually. Because a lot of you were asking about what about the studio? We have a Telefunken, but the, let's say, most widely known and used tape machines are usually studios. So we got our hands on one and we're going to put it online.
Yeah. And then we've got the G24 from Gyra. We've got all the components now from Mr. Jakub from Gyra Audio.
Those are already here
Those
somewhere.
are here.
I'll just go grab them.
Somewhere. So Ziga grabs that. It's a unique compressor, an optical compressor, but with a passive signal path and very interesting sidechain. So the sidechain is active, but all of the sound processing is actually done passively. Very interesting compressor to say the least. We've got the components here already populated by Mr. Jakub, so this is the makings of the new unit. So we just have to make the automation for it, and then it can be yours as well.
So I think that this is quite a cool example on to show the people on how we go about automating analog gear.
Sure.
So we get ourselves a version of an analog circuit that looks like that. So I don't know if you can see that, but you can simply insert the potentiometers inside those empty holes here, and the unit is going to be working just like, put it in a box and it's your G24 compressor. But we develop stuff like that, but a little bit smaller, that plugs into those holes and mimics the potentiometers. It's not motors, but it's alternative circuits that electrically look exactly the same as those potentiometers that usually you would put inside those holes here, but it's remote controllable. So we put all those circuits inside the box, connect it to our server, and you can use it on the internet.
Exactly.
Long story short.
So it's going to be, of course, this isn't in a box right now.
Yeah.
So what's missing is the automation box. It needs some of the power supply.
Yeah.
And then it's ready for use.
And maybe for those of you who are wondering why am I, handling this little black box around?
Do you see it?
Yeah. It contains cadmium.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna poison myself or
Yeah,
something.
we'll die.
But
This is the last
yeah,
example.
but yeah, not joking. This is actually a proper opto cell to use with the passive optical compressor. And the point is, those cells made out of cadmium are, I think, very similar or practically the same as those used in the LA2A, or just a very similar construction.
And the LA3A. So they use the same system, and I believe cadmium is used in all of those. So originally, at least, I've got a 70s original opto cells, and I'm quite sure they're cadmium.
Yeah. So yeah,
So
that's All right, and then after that, I guess we are getting another Elysia unit or another battle maker unit. I'm not sure what's the dynamics or cycle of all those.
It's going to be an Elysia unit, I believe, or it's definitely going to come in July, I think.
Okay.
It's going to come in July, I mean to us. So it will be a bit more time before you guys see it. But it's going to be an Empressor. So with hopefully an Alpha coming after that this year. We'll see. We're still a bit, talking with Elysia, but they seem to be very keen on getting an Alpha online. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be bananas.
Yeah. And from Bettermaker, it's going to be a mastering compressor.
Yeah.
So their bus compressor mastering version. I don't believe they came out with that product quite yet. I don't think you can buy it right now. And it might even happen that it's going to be on Mixanoid first, and then you'll be able to buy it. I'm not quite sure how Marek from Bettermaker has his schedule around those things, but maybe that would be really cool. A pre-release online.
They were showing the unit on Frankfurt Musikmesse this year, so it's coming.
It wasn't done yet.
Shortly.
Yeah.
It's not released yet.
I think you can pre-order.
Okay, and apart from that, I think that looking so far ahead with all the units that we've listed right now, anything and everything I would say about the future units would be pure speculations. We wish to get everything from LA2A to Stereo 1176 to what else?
We want reverbs like a plate
Yeah,
reverb.
sure.
We're looking actively for one. There might be a multi-channel tape machine. We're also looking into that. Then there's digital things, but still out like rack mount units like an Eventide or Bicasti or things like that.
TC6000.
The TC6000 has also been discussed.
Yeah.
So there are quite a few options, and actually we also wanna expand a bit on what makes analog is as a concept. Right now, it's analog over the internet. That's nice, but I think quite a few people are having a problem with the workflow. It doesn't do all of the, let's say, mastering workflow right now, because most of the mastering guys, they're kind of hybrid these days, right? They have a few analog tools, they have a few digital tools. The digital tools can be plugins or they can be outboard. So, walling ourselves inside just the analog units is kind of nice and I don't know. It's special.
It's our primary DNA, but
I do think that to get a very good workflow experience for you guys, we should be looking into like the complete workflow, which would include something like great plugins or digital outboard. So that's also one of the ideas for the future, is to get into the same interface, into the same workflow, also mastering great plugins and to work within the same chain. So you could mix and match plugins in analog gear. You wouldn't need to worry about stuff like licenses or CPU utilization. It will all happen remotely together with the analog gear. So kind of a mastering solution that you're in charge of, and you just bring your monitor. That's all you need to take care of.
Yeah.
That an idea? Let us know if we're thinking in the right direction, or you would just want us to just put more analog gear online and stop thinking about plugins. So that's also cool. Just let us know.
And with that, I think that we haven't gotten a question
We haven't gotten a ton of those this time, so it seems everything is super clear.
Yeah, sure. Maybe for any one of you who might want to join us next time, a great part of a great reason for us for doing this webinar thing is to answer your questions. So it's not just a TV show. It's for you to ask the questions. So anything or everything you want to ask about mix analog, or how to make the most out of our units on your particular productions, just let us know, and we'll try to answer you.
Okay, so thank you so much for tuning in this time. The traditional 11th webinar has been very interesting and very nice for us. Hope it was very nice for you as well, that you learned something new, got a few tips and tricks, and that it got you thinking maybe about the future of where we want to go with things, and maybe you will weigh in on that. Can't wait to get some of your responses.
And with that, I wish you goodbye.
Bye bye, guys.
And see you in 2 weeks.
Cheers, bye bye.